Hey, everybody, and welcome to the latest AFTN postgame show on YouTube. It's also a podcast recording. We're a little bit late because Steve had more attempts to log into this than the Whitecaps had shots in the last two games against the FC. But we'll get to all that. Let's introduce ourselves to kick everything off. If you don't know, I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Hander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And this seemed like a good idea at the time to do a live post-game show, not knowing, probably guessing, but not really knowing what we were going to be watching. I didn't know that we would be doing this right in the middle of a crucial Canucks playoff game. So I'm pretty sure our listenerships will be not very good. Although last night I accidentally tuned into Caps Prime Time on YouTube, and I was the 8th viewer to tune into that. So as long as we beat 8, I'm quite happy.
The thing is, people might tune in because that game's basically over apparently right now, and they're going.
It was 2-0. It was 2-0 when I came upstairs.
Double it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Yeah. Well, everyone's going to be watching this.
Oh, Vancouver.
The Whale Boys.
The Whale Boys.
The Whale Boys. But yes, we are back for another show. This is also going to be the recording for episode 407 of the podcast. There'll be a few things not in tonight's show on YouTube that will be in the podcast, so you still need to listen. But we're going to talk Whitecaps. We're going to talk Canadian Premier League. We're going to talk World Cup qualifiers. There's a lot in store.
I thought this was going to be the Alphonso Davies preview show.
But I think everything else on Canadian sports TV just now is the Alphonso Davies preview show. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring this out before the Champions League final or after it. I think it's probably going to come out after it. So we can touch Fonzie a little bit, but maybe not too much. But we are going to kick things off talking Whitecaps. I was trying to think of a fun thing to say, but no. I was trying to think of a nice descriptive word for them. The only words that were coming into my mind there weren't nice. So yeah, let's kick things off. Talking Vancouver Whitecaps. MLS is back, and we're just staying in Canada, doing a never-ending round robin. We've played 2 games against TFC. We've got another game coming up on Tuesday against Montreal, then a little bit of a break. Then we welcome our Eastern friends out here. Can't wait for that because these 2 games have been so much fun so far.
And everything they'll bring to us too from the East.
I don't know. It's more likely that we're going to be giving it to them the way that things are going out here in BC just now. But
no, I'm talking about like powdered milk and other stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
For our ration books, yeah. We haven't obviously done a show since Tuesday's game, and I don't want to delve too much into that, but let's just get your thoughts from that game on Tuesday to kick things off. It was 3-0, and I think it's pretty fair to say the Whitecaps were lucky to get 0.
They overperformed to get the 0, basically.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How did you come away from that? Because that Lucas Cavallini described it as embarrassing. And he also said it can't get worse than that. And we're all like, oh, Lucas, you've got so much to learn about being here in Vancouver.
Yeah. If you think you hit the bottom of the barrel, there's a lot more there where it came from.
It'd be nice if he could hit something, but back of the net would be nice. But
I think right now he's just trying too hard because there's no support. So he tried to do everything himself. And it's not working because he's not that type of player.
Yeah.
I felt lucky because I've been on holidays, and so I didn't actually watch it live. I've only seen parts of it. And,
we don't want to spoil it for you then.
Yeah, no. This is not like the Voyagers Cup for you a couple years ago, Steve. I won't be going back to look at it.
You should. I have it on the PVR. I haven't deleted it yet, and I'm thinking I might watch it again.
It could also be the Cornelius effect of the differences between the 2 games because he seems to. I think he had a really good record at the bubble, and today they only let 1 goal in, where opposed to the last game it was 3. So
Yeah.
I don't know
And
what he needs to do to make sure he's a regular, but they seem to perform better when he's in the lineup.
I think the way that things are going, we've got a chance of making it into the starting lineup though before the end of the season. Just between injuries, folk not traveling, people breaking rules, which we'll come to,
People being
that,
sold.
yeah, others seemingly not wanting to play for the Whitecaps, if you can believe delivery, food people. But these are all things that will come to over the course of the show. Let's look at tonight's game first. It is a post-game show, so we'll chat a little bit about that. Do you have a burning question of why is there a sliced cucumber at the top of your screen, Steve?
That's a little shout out to a group of people I watched the hockey game with. So it's an inside joke. So no worries about it.
Hey, as long as that's the only thing that the cucumber was inside.
It's sliced, so it's not referencing anything else.
Okay. And it's still green, so I mean it looks good.
Yeah.
Michael, quick update for you. We have hit at least double digits, so we're ahead of.
We've beat Caps prime time. Oh, before we go any further as well, I'll just explain what I'm wearing. So I thought it's the 21st of August when we're recording this, which means it's coming up to September. And I feel September, it's time to dig out Football Violence Awareness Month again. So to get everyone in the mood for that.
It's the NHL playoffs, so that kind of fits in with that too.
Yeah, look, it's my Sabutio hooligan shirt. Armed with a little kosh to kind of hit anyone that annoys us. And I'm also going to be introducing Football Violence Awareness Month now in our East 5 podcast. So we're going to have people on 2 continents buying our ribbons and getting our support badges and stuff. I have actually inquired how much it is to get some ribbons made up. I might actually do that. So you can, what color do you think? I was thinking red for blood.
Blood, yeah. Black and blue.
Oh, that's a good one. Black and gold for East 5, blue and white for the Whitecaps.
No, I was just saying black
and blue.
I know black and blue. Yeah. Okay.
Zach, your thoughts on that?
The color of your shirt?
No, the color of our ribbons for Football Violence Awareness Month.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I don't want anything to do with that.
Well, you're a bit of a party pooper. Next, you won't be doing things with cucumbers. Right, let's get into tonight's game. It wasn't as bad as Tuesday. There's a positive. That's one for the good, the bad, and the ugly part of the show. We only let in 1 goal as opposed to 3. And it wasn't like Tuesday was 3 goals going on 6, 7, or 8. Tonight it was 1, maybe going on 2 or 3. I think TFC kind of took their foot off the pedal a little bit.
It looked like it. Yeah, it looked a little scary in the first half. It looked like it was going to be run away with it, but like either the Whitecaps tightened up or TFC let off the gas. It was either or. I think it's more TFC let off the gas.
I mean, come on, like, the first game was a little bit different, but these look like TFC has brought in some team to do training against. Like, tonight it was so slow. The pace was so slow, and Vancouver was so defensive and so pushed back so deep, like started so deep that TFC was just having. It was like TFC. It was like Vanny was just like, hey, let's go out and work on some things, and we know we're gonna win, so let's just try a few things. I want to see good movement around the box. I want to see some passing. I want to see some creativity. Keep a clean sheet. No one get hurt, so we can get the 3 points and move on. Like it was like watching a training, like a bad training session, really.
Yeah.
It's essentially it's national training, basically. You could kind of call it national.
It was like for John Herdman just to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
See, if Bom Wong was still here, he's used to national training. He'd have been great at this. I think Ali Adnan might have gone through it as well. So, I mean, he should be used to this. But I don't know if this was a game that's played here. We used to play in the school playground, like attackers and defenders when we were playing football. So you'd have one team that was attackers, one was defenders. That's what it felt like for a big chunk of the game, especially the first half. And in the second half, it kind of then felt TFC were like, okay, let's get a little bit of defensive training in. We'll give the Whitecaps the ball because we know they're not going to do anything with it. They managed 1 shot tonight. They managed 1 shot, on target. 1 shot on target tonight, 1 shot on target on Tuesday. Yeah. It's hard to see how you turn that around. On the plus side, we got our 2 strikers back that were missing in Orlando, Toss Ricketts and Lucas Cavallini.
Yeah.
On the negative side, we couldn't get the ball to them.
Exactly. That's the problem. It didn't make, like, it seems like now the bubble, it didn't make a difference who was playing up top because nobody could get the ball to them. And they didn't have the counterattacks to take advantage, because that's where a lot of goals came from.
Yeah, but the counterattacks came from Ali Adnan being usually making a quality pass, and also from Jordy and Dahome, doing the running, doing the adding the quickness to the counterattack, right? And Reyna did not look good the other day, and obviously
he didn't look good today either.
Didn't look good today either, for sure. But and Dahome came on and ended up moving into like a right wing back position, which was just
the subs in general were just absolutely bizarre. By the end of the game, if you asked me to say what the shape of the team was and who was playing where, I genuinely would have struggled to say what that was.
I call it blob, the shape.
That's what some of the heat maps have been looking like for the Whitecaps. But let's rewind it.
There was one point in today's game where Dahome, it was off a set piece or something, and it came to him on the right-hand side. He's by himself there. He wasn't able to cross it in right away, and nobody came to support him. And basically, the ball just eventually went over the line and that was basically symbolic of the whole game, where they just didn't know what to do with the ball until it was too late, and TFC overmanned whoever had the ball.
Hey, don't start talking about whether balls are going over the line or not, because apparently, according to VAR, it didn't go over the line on Tuesday. And for me, that was the turning point. If that had been given and TFC hadn't got that second goal, I think we'd have won that game on Tuesday 2-1.
Sure, Michael. But the thing about that,
just gonna take the rest of my drugs just now.
No, but the thing about that isn't the discussion around that whether or not it's like a goal line, right? It's the whole of the ball has to be over the whole of the line, right? So sure, you could see the green between the ball and the line, but the circumference of the ball was still over the line, is what the officials determined, right?
There was a game the other night, and I can't remember. I think it might have been the Columbus game. There was a very similar thing, and it was given as a goal because it was like whether it had gone over the line or not.
Well, there was that game, the MLS Cup final, Portland and Columbus, where the ball was maybe 2 feet off the line or whatever.
Yeah,
that was the only goal of the game.
Final.
That was the only goal of the game too, and that was the winner.
Yeah, it was the winner. That was pre-VAR though, right?
Yeah, that was pre-VAR.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about Tuesday anymore. Let's roll back though. I want us to look at the starting lineup. Now, obviously, Jordy Reyna did not play. He wasn't going to start anyway, but he was meant to be on the bench. And then, never mind getting pulled off at half time, he was pulled off before the start of the game, which is going to tire a lad out. So, I mean, it's probably good to have him in the stands after that. But
the question was he pulled off the night before? That's maybe why.
Is that why he slept in?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if he slept in, but I think it's miraculous that players are basically in a bubble of sorts, but you can still be late for something in that bubble, because that's the official word. He was late, and it's not apparently the first time that he's been late. I asked MDS after the match about it, and he said it's no big drama. They've got rules and regulations. Jordy breached it. It's a one-off, not featuring him, because they had to make a statement to the rest of the locker room that rules and regulations have to get followed. But this is not the first time that Reyna has breached rules and regulations. We'll just stick to the Canadian aspect of that.
I was wondering where you're going with.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's just make sure we don't get taken off YouTube. So let's just stick to the Canadian aspect. But he's done things before. His coat is on a sugary peg, as we would say in Scotland.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, let's talk a bit more about Reyna in the next part, actually. Let's just do the game in this one. So the lineup, when you saw it, a lot of folk, I read some of the Twitter comments right after the Caps had tweeted out the lineup, and it was all like, this is the worst lineup ever. This is the worst team ever. I had looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, that's not bad considering who we had, because I knew that we were going to be going 3-5-2, 5-3-2, however you wanted to look at it. So the defense was what I was expecting. Up front was what I was expecting. So if you've got that, your midfield options, if you actually want central midfielders in there, you didn't really have any other options but the three guys that started. Now, I'm not saying it's a strong lineup, but this is all that we could have put out.
Yeah, they set up to defend with 8, like a minimum of 8, maybe 9, right? And so after you get outplayed and beaten 3-0 in the previous a few days before, it makes sense to want to make sure that that doesn't happen again on the defensively. But I mean, I guess in one sense I hear you and I agree with you that with all of the limitations that they have or that they've put on themselves, it's understandable that this is the kind of starting line that they have for a game like this.
I mean, Steve, what would you say you could do to tweak that, to make it stronger, to make them competitive? Because if you want to go 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, I can't see anyone else that we would slot in. Maybe move Rose to the midfield.
Yeah.
Play Kamiri in the middle of the defense.
That's the only option. The only option is basically they need to get healthier. They really or bring in another player or something like that in the midfield, because on hurt right now you got Bikel, who would be nice in the midfield. If they had I'd prefer Rose in the midfield if he could bring up a stronger backline. Like a Godoy was back in the back three. So there are options, but the problem is that most of these guys aren't ready to play and they're injured. I think MDS was saying Godoy has just had a frustrating year, or he's been frustrating this year because of all the injuries, and they've had to deal with. Considering they paid a big chunk of money for him, and considering the position he plays too, they don't normally spend that much on that.
There's only 2 guys out injured, which is Godoy and Bikel.
And that makes a huge difference when you come to where the lineups are. Because I was surprised he actually took Kamiri off, but not considering the way he's played. Like, he shouldn't be in the lineup at this point, considering all the issues they've had since the restart. But for once they actually took him off, and I hope he stays off until he's ready to play or gets everything sorted out, because he's not ready for MLS at this point.
No, I mean, talking of Andy Rose, I thought he was the man of the match on Tuesday, and it's like, what is his best position? Is it centre back? Is it centre midfield? That's actually something that I asked MDS on the conference call on Thursday. So for those of you listening on the podcast, I'll just play what he had to say about that just now. And for those of you watching the stream that's obviously not hearing it, he basically said that he feels, so MDS feels Andy Rose's best position is centre back. And that from the age of 19, he should maybe have been a centre back and groomed himself to be in that position. And I think I do like him as a midfielder, but he's a bit slow. So he could be your DM, the guy that's sitting in front of that back line if you're playing a flat back 4. But if you are going 5 at the back, 3 at the back, I don't mind him being the guy that's in the middle. Except tonight he wasn't in the middle. He was the centre back that was on the right. And I don't think that suits him at all.
Because I think MDS has mentioned before, I think he likes having the center backs that can control the ball. And obviously Andy Rose being a bigger guy and being able having played midfield, that probably got him suited for what MDS wants in center backs. And maybe that's the reason why Cornelius doesn't get that much time, because he doesn't handle the ball as much as the other guys do. So I think that maybe center back is the best position, but they're so lacking in midfield right now that
I know
they need something up there too.
I mean,
if no, go on, Zach.
Sorry, to counter that, Michael, the one thing I thought that was good about, or one of the things I guess that was positive about the center back setup today, was I appreciated Ranko in the middle, and I appreciate him there because he is good at playing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him in Orlando take the ball up the pitch. So, I mean, he can certainly do that. So, I mean, he does add that from being in the middle of the park. Then the other 2 centre backs can kind of close ranks a little bit. But, I mean, it's just, this is a team. When you go up against the likes of Toronto, the difference in class is just incredible. And I was listening to TSN radio earlier today. Pete Shad was on it, and he summed it up perfectly, because he said TFC basically have 3 tiers of players. You've got your elite players, you've got your DPs, you've got the likes of Bradley Altidore, Pozuelo, these guys that are your real difference makers that cost money. Then you've got your really good, serviceable MLS players. So you've got guys that have done it in the league, guys that are doing it, guys that are doing it, like even Richie Correa, goal scorer tonight, Nick DeLeon, he's another great example.
Yeah.
So these are the guys that are doing it over and over. And then you've got the young Canadian homegrown guys that's coming through the ranks that are struggling to really get in the team, because the first 2 tiers are so good.
But they are getting in the Whitecaps. They are getting in the team though, because like a guy like Liam Fraser, who because the whole rest of the 11 is good, he's actually succeeding because he's got a good solid group behind him.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. It was his first start since like last year, right?
Yeah. And he didn't even make it to the hour mark today, but this was the kind of game that you can give a guy like him a run out, because you're like, yeah, this is fine. It's the Whitecaps. That's the kind of sad thing about this, really. But if you look at the Whitecaps, we don't have anyone in that elite. But
not right now.
Maybe Ali Adnan, you could say, is an elite player because we know what he's capable of. But without a supporting cast, he doesn't really thrive as an elite player. He's not showing that he's an elite player. Inbom Wong could have been an elite player, and we'll talk about him in the next part and his departure. We don't even have what you could look at as that many really good MLS veteran people. You've got Andy Rose, and then that's kind of it. Russell Tybert, Ricketts. But then you've got guys that they're not homegrown. We've got our own little tier of guys that we've brought into the league, but they're not doing great. And again, it's because they maybe don't have the players around them that's helping them to succeed. It's hard to see how you get out of this, or what happens to change this, basically.
Yeah, I was thinking about their midfield. Like you got just like 4 of the guys that are playing it around there. You got Pozuelo, you got Piatti, you got Osorio, you got Bradley. The Whitecaps could just use one of those guys, and that would make a massive difference. Even take Jonathan Osorio, who's probably the least expensive and least known player, maybe, or out of the 4, and he would make a huge difference in this Whitecaps lineup. So they need somebody to just be able. They need a couple guys. I know Wosu, I think, could be that one of those guys, but if they could get somebody better than him to pair up, and they could just drive the ball up the field through the midfield and distribute it through there. That's what they're lacking. They need that one premier player in that central midfield.
Yeah, and we're not going to get it just now. We're not going to get it this season because you're looking at quarantine.
Sense. Yeah, but just get the person in, get them 14 days. They'll be ready for next year. Who knows when quarantine's going to be over? Just get it done. And everybody's saying that because of COVID, the prices are down. Why not take advantage of that and bring somebody in? Even if it doesn't. How many times? Look, I think one of the best examples is Kendall Waston, bringing him in half a year early or something like that.
He came in August, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Before they were expecting to come in. They were expecting to come in January, and he made a massive difference, not only right off the bat, but this next year because he was already acclimated to the environment.
I agree with you, Steve, that timing worked out really well. But remember, you have to think about that in context. That didn't happen because they're like, yeah, let's get ready for next year. I know that because of Jay Demerit retiring early.
No, I know that. That was just something that happened there, but it worked in retrospect.
I mean, it did work, and other teams are bringing players in just now. We'll discuss what we might want to bring in soon. Just to kind of wrap up a couple of things from this game, because there really isn't tons to talk about. Larea's goal, it was a great strike, but Andy Rose did let him get, lucky deflection from Pozuelo. Pozuelo gets an assist for that as Piatti hits the ball off him, and then it goes to Larea, who buries it, and it's like, that's an assist for Pozuelo. It's like, it's just...
Shouldn't Piatti get an assist too? He must have got a secondary assist. He's the one that nailed it off.
He get one as well. But it was a great finish.
You should have to call bank if you're gonna do that. Like you should have to call it before to get an assist.
Andy Rose did let Larea get away from him. That's the only thing in that. And he just reacted a bit slow, and just Larea was had just basically got away from him. I don't know if that was my whole floor just shook there. I don't know if this is an earthquake or if something weird really happened there, but
you probably had a heavy truck drive by. It's fine.
You have a guest arriving at your house.
Oh, it could be that. Yeah. For anyone that won't know this, which is most of you because we're talking off air, my father-in-law's arriving tonight, which is not why we're doing a live show for me to avoid him. Honestly, it's not. Just get that on record in case my wife listens to this when I'm editing it. But anyway, back to the football. So, I mean, that was the only goal of the game, Larea's strike. Now, Hassau had a couple of good saves. I thought he had a pretty good outing. Tuesday, I thought he was a little bit shaky at times. I have some concerns with him, how he comes out for collecting the ball. He spilled a couple of balls as well. But tonight, he looked pretty solid. That point-blank save that he had from, I think it was Piatti, might have been Pasuelo, one of the P's anyway. That was fantastic. And then the sprawling one that he tipped around for the corner as well, that was good. Otherwise, we could have been 3-0 down by that point. So I think he's growing into the position. Really good.
What's that? From Oro. The one he stopped from Oro tonight.
Oh, it was Oro. Yeah, that was
it.
Yeah. The second half, there's nothing to talk about at all. It was just, as you said, it was like a training game. Possession in the first half was 68-32. And I think that's pretty much how it kind of finished as well. I didn't check the final things, but it was round about that figure. You're not going to do anything with that kind of possession. After the match, MDS talked about this was an improved performance, and it was. But what is lacking is glaringly obvious to everyone, Mark included, and we don't have the pieces there to address it just now. And I don't know what this team does for the rest of this year. Do you just concentrate on playing the young lads? Do you still hold out some hope of doing something? Because we're on the road technically, so we're playing away games. Are we going to focus at winning our games at home? I don't know. It's hard to see a way out of this right now.
The Whitecaps are probably they're the toughest thing because you're playing all the games on the road to start off with, which is not good. And then so you're going to fall behind, and how are you going to catch up at that point? Like once you get, even if you get a string of games at home, by that time you have to almost play perfect, and that's impossible to do. So it's just a matter of getting through the season and getting it over with, and then either calling it quits or finding a location in the US once they want to open it up into the next year.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit. For those of you listening on the podcast, we'll take a little break just now, and we'll be back talking more Whitecaps, looking ahead to the game to come, and just some of the big talking points that's come out of the Whitecaps in the last week. So we'll be back with that after this. And for those of you on the stream, we'll just be continuing as normal. So,
Michael, can I read a comment from the stream that might add a couple comments from the stream?
Yeah, let's kick this part off then with some comments from the stream.
Andrew Shaboniak, aka Morbs, says, "I farted earlier. It smelled better than that Whitecaps performance."
The way to take the tone down, as if I hadn't done that already.
That's why I want to do at the beginning here, so you can edit it out if you want to. He also said it's the start of the third period. And then John Ward says, "Is it time for the owners to sell this franchise and get the Whitecaps into the CPL? Get back to actually enjoying the game?"
I don't know how well this team would do in the CPL.
It's true. But and then
Cavalry beat us last year.
And then the Walker said, "Maybe need better service to Cava," but he was just shrugging his shoulders and looked totally uninterested. On top of that, he was worse at holding the ball up when it came out of defense than Hurtado was back in the day.
But he did do that fantastic tackle on Osario 4 minutes into Tuesday's game. That was the highlight. Whitecaps' highlight of these two games was that tackle.
Yep.
I actually asked him about that on Thursday's conference call, which for those on the podcast, I'll play the audio of that just now so you can hear it. So basically what he said was, because I asked him, what did Osario say to you after that tackle? Because he'd said beforehand he was going to kick him. And Osorio did not look happy with that tackle at all. So Cava just said, yeah, he fears me because he knows what I can do to him. But then I did point out that this is MLS and he might have to watch his aggression in the league. But yeah,
especially
fun stuff from Cava.
Especially predicting and kicking the guy before the game and then ending up kicking him. It's not good. Disco will not like that.
No, but that was sadly the highlight from the two matches for me. And that kind of says it all, really.
Yeah, I didn't. It was hard to watch the game.
Yeah. I mean,
just listening to the game, especially.
Tuesdays, I had to watch upstairs on our TV because our downstairs TV was disconnected because we're getting new flooring put in. And
how excited are you about the flooring?
More excited than watching those two Whitecaps games, I've got to say.
Wow, because I know you really are not happy about the flooring.
I really like it now. So don't worry. I really like the flooring. It's good.
That's good. I've been praying for your marriage and the flooring, so that's good to hear.
Just get an area rug or something like that if you miss it.
Yeah, we've got two now that have turned into dog beds for Penny, apparently.
No.
Do
you have is it a shag rug? I'm guessing one of them.
Well, we haven't had time to try that out yet, but we'll see how we get on as the weekend goes once my father-in-law goes away.
It hasn't been classified one as yet.
Bit of a personal question to ask on a live YouTube stream, but anyway. Aren't all rugs shag rugs? I don't know. We'll back. Anyway, moving on to Montreal. Just like the Whitecaps are going to be doing. They fly out early on Saturday morning, heading to Montreal. Interestingly, Montreal are letting 250 fans attend this one and charging between $225 and $250 for the privilege of watching Montreal take on Vancouver. Is that not a bargain?
How much?
$225 to $250.
What?
Because they have to recoup their money.
$2.25?
No,
Sadly,
200. No. 200.
Who's gonna pay $225?
It's the Whitecaps. It's Mark DeSantis coming home to Montreal.
Oh man.
Saputo delivers the food personally for that price.
Remember back in the USL days when Saputo used to paper the stadium by giving out all the tickets so that stadium was full?
Yeah. No, now you can charge a select few numpties that amount of money. It's pissed off the ultras quite considerably because obviously they're rightly pissed off that they're one of the loyal supporters, but you'd be paying so much money for that. TFC, though, managed to get some of their ultras to attend the game on Tuesday.
Well,
not officially
not the stadium.
No,
I personally want the Whitecaps. I want the Whitecaps to sell one ticket per section, just one ticket, like a single person per section for the game. It'd be awesome on TV, don't you think? Like having one person there waving a flag.
Oh, I'd like to see. This is the only game I'd like to see an actual wave at.
Hopefully, the person doesn't block the person behind section with the flag. That would be.
Yeah,
that would be.
That could be there, still getting complaints.
Imagine that one guy is in the behind section behind somebody waving a flag, but there's only one person per section. And he's complaining.
I know the perfect guy to put behind the flag waving.
You could sell restricted view tickets. There will be no fans at BC Place. I asked MDS what he thought about fans coming in as well. So again, for those listening on the podcast, I'll play that audio just now. And for those watching, I'll explain that he basically said that he thinks it's like, he said, fair play. I mean, MDS basically said fair play to TFC and their supporters turning up on Tuesday, finding a way to attend, make some noise, let off the smoke, bring the atmosphere. And he said, if Montreal can do it safely, he's all for it. Would he love supporters at BC Place? Yes, he would, because he feels it gives the team a lift. It's not happening, though. We're not letting people in. I put this out on Twitter as to how comfortable people would be if they were letting fans in. Before I get to some of those tweets, what about you guys? If you were able to attend, and like Steve and me could attend as media, there's a few media allowed to attend. I've already declined that option.
Yeah, so have I. Oh, well, I didn't even respond at all, so I don't even know if I got the email.
I don't think you did because I
No.
declined on your behalf.
Oh,
Because
okay, that makes sense.
Because of our previous discussion.
Yeah. I was gonna decline it anyways, even if they sent it personally. Yeah, I wouldn't attend it as a media, and that's probably safer. And I wouldn't attend it as a fan.
Yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable. Partly as well because I'd have to get the Sky train down, and I don't really want to do that. But like Zach, if you got the chance, say there was a Willy Wonka style golden ticket, you're obviously Augustus Gloop. Would you take that golden ticket and attend?
Yeah, I did attend a game in Lisbon this weekend. Yes.
Fans going to that game?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear about Thunderdome happening? I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what's going on.
I saw a little bit of Thunderdome. I actually meant to introduce this as welcome to the AFTN Thunderdome. It's a wrestling thing, Zach. They've got basically screens like this around the wrestling ring, watching live and reacting live, but they've had to sign a waiver in case somebody, say, got their dick out on live TV, that they would be responsible for any fines or anything.
Yeah. It's similar to what the basketball is doing as well with the fans that they have there in their virtual seats. Yeah.
But can I just say, I encourage, if you want to get your dicks out just now, feel free. It might get our viewership up. I don't know. You don't
I got cucumber. I got cucumber.
Yeah, there we go.
Cucumber.
It's sliced. It's seen better days. But I did throw out the question as to whether folk would want to attend or not. Obviously, being so organised for this, we only had 15 minutes to get ready for this while Steve was signing in. I could probably have managed to get these tweets up. Just talk amongst yourselves just now. Do some more questions from the chat. Paul.
Go for it.
Noberto S says the Caps are playing so bad that I'm actually watching more ice hockey lately. The last time I watched a Canucks game was in 2010. That's how a dog and pony show the club is nowadays.
Yeah, I don't find any of the MLS games that interesting. Like even the New York game that they had, I think it was yesterday or the day before.
I was pretty shitty.
It seems like it seems like MLS teams really need people in the stands in order to do it, which amazes me how FC Dallas was so successful for so many years before.
Yeah.
Michael, before you go to the thing, Noberto S followed that up with saying, do you guys know how much the Caps franchise are really worth and any real chance someone local could buy the Caps from Kerfoot and Co.? Just think the Caps need an MLSE ownership to change the culture.
I mean, I think you're looking at least 180 to 200 million. But, I mean, you're looking at the teams, what they're coming in for just now.
Yeah.
300. I mean, if it's a city or an ownership group that's got no chance of getting a team through expansion, I guess you can charge them whatever they are willing to pay, which could be over 300.
I think there's two scenarios. One, and there's the one that Noberto S is talking about is someone who would buy them and keep them here and invest in them the way MLSE has in TFC as an example. The other option, which is we all think is more likely to happen, is someone in an American city buying it so that they can relocate it to an American city.
Yeah, once all the expansion slots have been taken up and everything. Well, I would off the top of my head, other ownership groups in the city or owners that live in the city. There's two, obviously Aquilini, the Canucks, the Orca Bay group or whatever, and the other one is I think I'm pronouncing this wrong, Tom Gagliardi. He's the Dallas Stars owner, but he's local in Vancouver, and I've heard of rumors that he might be interested, but there are rumors only because Aquilini showed support, and so everybody put them in there too, because back when the Canucks were for sale, those two were trying to get the Canucks at the same time.
Here's the thing. I can't remember how much we've talked about this in the past. I know Jeff Mallett is fond of talking about how he wants to hand this down to his children and blah, 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 blah. But that's all an affront to the fact that they have tried to sell. They just haven't found someone who values it as much as they think they should.
Yeah.
Or they haven't found anyone actually willing to buy, period. So when you hear someone saying, oh, no, we're going to give this to our kids. Remember that there's the side of that that is trying to protect the asset and the value of it, right? Because you don't want.
Even though we've said in the past that the MLS really doesn't care about Canada, I don't think also they probably put it, if they're going to sell it, it has to stay in Vancouver for a while because they don't want to look bad selling it right away and moving it immediately. So it's going to be similar to what the Grizzlies, where they sold it to that guy and he kept it here for a couple of years, then moved it to Memphis.
Yeah, and then they still bring the jerseys out every now and again.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, also, oh man. Also, John O'Flynn wants you to know that he's watching us instead of watching the ice hockey.
Oh, thank you, John. Always a big supporter of the show. I appreciate that.
But he says his wife is keeping up to date on the score in ice hockey.
I don't know what my wife's doing just now, but
it's 4-1.
It's not watching ice hockey. Maybe she's testing out the shag rug. Who can say? As for Vancouver is a market that has a lot of potential if you invest properly in it.
Mm-hmm.
The support is there to come out and support this team.
We've seen it 3 years ago.
Yeah. If you're looking at cities that might miss out on expansion, they would maybe be interested in a team. If Phoenix don't get in, Phoenix's ownership group is very strong. You've got Drogba as part of that. And I'm pretty sure if they didn't get in this expansion round, they'll be chomping at the bit to somehow get a team.
You also got Landy Cakes in San Diego. That would be I personally like San Diego, so I don't mind that. But I wouldn't. It'd be because I think they were close to with a USL team or something. I can't remember. They got denied something like that. But
yeah,
I think
they had that.
San Diego 1904 or something like that. They were going for.
I still fancy another team in Oregon down the coast, Newport County. That would be my preferred choice.
Is Frank Yelp still connected to the? Was he connected in Arizona, in the Phoenix, or was that Fresno, or was that both at different points?
He went somewhere. I can't remember where he went.
I think it was like somewhere in California. I thought.
Huh. Google it. We'll find out.
He was the head coach at Phoenix, but then he resigned, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he landed somewhere else, not as a coach, but like as a sporting director or something.
I think it was Fresno. I think he went to Fresno.
Let's just Google this and find out. That's the easiest way of doing it.
Didn't you have comments from the fans? Didn't you have tweets about people wanting to attend?
Yeah, I hope to get to that at some point.
Okay.
Did you bring him up? Do you have him?
Oh, he is the current head coach of Las Vegas Lights.
Right, that's it.
He was the GM at Fresno, and then this year he became the coach of Las Vegas Lights, of course, because
Ronaldo left.
He replaced Ronaldo when Ronaldo left in
so
weird circumstances.
Phoenix to Reno to Vegas. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's nice little road trip. Anyway, let's get to the tweets about attending games. The majority of the replies were no, they wouldn't respond. So I won't read them all, but it's things like Dental Dalmatian said, I think it's insanely irresponsible, but Crash Carivo says, for Montreal's point of view, 250 fans in a 20,000 seat outdoor stadium seems pretty reasonable. That being said, I can see the stadium from my apartment as in BC Place, and I'll still be watching the game on TV. Vancouver Whitecaps said it's still an unnecessary risk, but with that low of a number being admitted, he'd be tempted to go to a game at BC Place. C. Galitsky said, what is the gain in letting fans in compared to the possible consequence? And I think that is a big talking point. It's like, how much do you gain from letting that a small amount of fans in to go wrong? Kevin Gilmore, the general manager, CEO of Montreal, said, look, we want to get fans back in at the games. We have to start somewhere. This is us starting somewhere to see if this can work and we can expand it.
The only thing,
reward.
Yeah, the only thing is they have to make sure that they control the people. Like 250 is fine in a big stadium, but are they going to funnel people out at different times? Are they going to let in people at different times? You can't let in like 250 people all at once, and you can't make sure 250 people don't go all back all at once too, and washrooms and everything like that. So you got to be careful about when people get herded around.
Well, also, the Impact said that there will be exceptional sanitary measures in place at the stadium, which must be a huge shock to people from Montreal. But I mean, they'll get used to it, I'm sure. They tried it in Cowdenbeath, didn't go down very well there. Rod Hodkinson. I was going to go further with that, but I thought, no, it's different times. Different times.
Good call.
Yeah. It's not Swangard anymore. We're not in Swangard anymore, Dorothy. Rod Hodkinson said, it's irresponsible, regardless of the measures. You're putting your trust in people to do the right thing. He wouldn't go, 250? Why bother? The risk is too great. I'm trying to find one of the other tweets. Here we go. From Clive. You might know him. Red Hot coach. Certain ex-Whitecaps father. He says, good on Montreal. Moving forward, taking precautions, and not living in baseless fear paranoia like most are. Taylor D.
What I know of Clive.
Yeah. Taylor D. Brendenhoff said, open things up. You could easily socially distance 1,000 people in BC Place. That's about 2% of the seating capacity. So that plays into Steve's plan of just having one person in each section. I would love to see a wave in that. That would be superb. Or a Whitecaps chant.
Yeah, two people.
Some guy going, white. And the guy, sorry, what was that? I said, white. Shite. Yeah, it's shite. Caps. Yeah, it's definitely crap. Oh, the fun you could have with this. Last thing I'll read. There was tons of sort of replies. So sorry that I haven't got to all this. Oh, actually, two I'll read. Chris Doyle. He raised a very good point that I had hoped someone was going to raise on the Montreal call. I couldn't be on the call because I was doing Mighty's 5 podcast. How many support staff is going to be needed for 250 people? Because then you're bringing more people in to the bubble, and then it's like how many people, security, cleaning staff, concessions people. They are going to provide packed lunches, which I was just picturing like Millhouse for some reason and The Simpsons, just getting a packed lunch. But I mean, there is that. But yeah, the more people you let in, the more expense the club has, because they've got more cleaning, they've got more staff to try and look after all this as well. So I understand you have to start somewhere. This just seems, I don't know, it just seems kind of pointless.
So your $250 comes with a packed lunch?
Yes.
Lunchables.
VWFC All Caps actually said, for that price, does it include a Thierry Henry meet and greet?
That's what I figured. I figured there'd be some kind of social distance conversation with TT.
Yeah, he could just stand in the center of the pitch and just with a big microphone.
That would be worth it for 225. Oh, talking of that, I missed this on Tuesday because I was only watching stuff with half an eye because it was so shit. I didn't even bother doing the match report after the game and putting it up.
Half an eye.
Half an eye. Like Rey Mysterio, Steve. Another
I think he's just got.
there.
I think he's just got one eye.
Yeah, but I noticed it tonight because again I wasn't really looking, and Caitlin's like, "Have you seen how far away Mark is from Christian Jack?" When they were doing the interviews. Yeah. I don't know if that was like the protocol or if Mark just didn't really want to speak to Christian after his pre-game chat with him on Tuesday or not.
Stop it. Come on.
Don't mention KJ. Simon's going to leave the stream.
Oh, no. It's okay. I won't mention Laura Armstrong either.
Okay, it's not Simon's on here. I think it's just the front office people are watching this feed right now.
Hey, Nate. This will put you to sleep.
Morbital says the Whitecaps couldn't even draw one fan per section.
How many sections is there? 250 or 260, 70?
254, if it's true on the bottom, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from that. I think we've kind of covered that fully. Let's get into some other Whitecaps chat that I've kind of jotted some notes down here to talk about. So let's talk first of all about a player that has moved on. I covered it when I did the solo show last week. Haven't had your guys' thoughts on it. Inbom Wong, he's gone off to Russia. He's doing interviews in English now, which was kind of more than he was doing when he was here. I don't think he's drank any poison tea yet, so that's a plus. general thoughts on Inbaum's time here. I tweeted that I thought he was a bit of a flop. I wasn't as harsh in last week's show. I don't think he was a success here.
No.
I don't doubt that he's a good player at all. I think he is a good player. He's shown that internationally. You don't do what he's done and be sought after by clubs in Europe if you're not a good player. I just don't think he was a fit for the Whitecaps. I don't think he was a fit for MLS. And I don't think he was the kind of DP that we needed. And he didn't have the players around him that could bring the best out of him.
I think their last point is the best one. I think that he didn't have the right player around him. I just think you just need one other player around him to be more effective. And I think he was miscast. That was the biggest thing. He was not, whether it's miscast for MLS or miscast for the way what MDS wants to play. I'm not sure which one it is. I thought, looking back on it, and I'm just speculating, I haven't heard anything. I'm just thinking this might be the case. Maybe they just saw an opportunity to resell at a higher value, which they did, which kudos to them. They did that. But maybe they didn't see him. Maybe they didn't see him as a fit, and they just saw him as an opportunity where they could bring him in, play him for a year, and then get him off, and then recoup the money back and maybe make a profit off him.
It's a very different case, but in one way, it reminds me a little bit of Julian de Guzman going to TFC, where you're bringing in this holding midfielder on this huge salary for TFC. It was over $2 million, which brought with the DP tag, with it huge expectations that they would see like some of the best of what they saw from him playing, in the Canadian men's national team and a little bit of Deportivo La Coruña, in Hanover before that. He's not that kind of player, really, especially with the people, like you said, with Inbaum that he had around him. And so I feel bad for him in that sense. I feel like the expectations that come with a DP tag and stuff were maybe not always fair to him. But I don't think they brought him in just to make money off of him. I think they did. That was one of their goals, but I didn't think they're like, oh, let's just bring him in. And even though he's maybe not what we need, whatever, I think MDS really thought he could contribute, but they weren't able to either get to other pieces or to get things to work right with limited resources they had to get the best out of him.
It's just a thought that popped in my head that maybe they weren't even looking, because just based on how we performed in the system.
No, but these people don't spend 1.8 million on a player that they don't think that. Yeah,
you're probably right.
Yeah, so but they are extremely happy. Like internally, they are like extremely happy that they're making money off of this. The sad thing is, Michael would say cock-a-hoop. That's right. The sad thing, or perhaps the pathetic thing, is that they are not going to be investing that money into the next player or to other players to both replace him and maybe more importantly to make the team better, the squad better, and to get better results. That's the hard thing. Now I know there's the pandemic and all that kind of stuff that you could list as excuses, but it's totally unacceptable. And people who care about this football club should be extremely frustrated about how this is playing out and what they're doing with this, and they should demand that they be told what is the plan, what is going to be done with the profits from this, because you remember this only happened because of the Alphonso Davies sale. So now if they're just going to spend some of it on this player, make money off that, and then not invest that's not really living out what they said about the Alphonso Davies money.
Yeah. If the one thing is imagine he actually played well. Imagine what they could have got for him.
Oh yeah.
If they're happy right now what they got for him, imagine what they could have got. And then the other thing is if they're not going to invest in a player, invest it in a mutual fund over like a short term, and try to get when you pull it out, you can maybe have more money to invest in a better player when they're ready to do that.
Steve, the owners are doing that. It's just not for the club's benefit.
The AFTN mutual fund, if anyone from the club wants to get in touch, we can strike a deal. It will be invested in McVitie's chocolate digestives. Not the company, just me buying quite a lot of chocolate digestives, really. But I think we can pretty much be certain that the Whitecaps are not going to spend more than they've made of this. They're not going to be in a worse position financially. They should spend more. They should use this money, add more money to it, and bring in a top talent. But they're not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to say, oh, we had a player and then we've made a profit on that, but now we're worse off because we've spent more than we made from him. But to improve this team, they're going to need to spend money or somehow find this magical diamond in the rough that we've been trying to find every single year, and we just haven't found it because it's the same old.
Yeah.
Again, we're in a rebuilding process, it feels. It's like it's rebuild after rebuild after rebuild. It's kind of feeling that the Whitecaps are the Winchester Mystery House of Major League Soccer. It's just constant building, but it never gets anywhere.
They just need to get that foundation right initially. They haven't done that, I don't think, yet, and they need stronger pillars. If they get stronger pillars, then they can you can have that foundation solid.
Yeah, but the pillars need to be the owners and those giving vision to everything. But yeah, I know you're making fun of their pillars, but some people. I was reading some people's comments today or whatever, but they're basically saying, can you even call this a rebuild if you haven't actually built something first?
That is very true, because we haven't. It's like you're building a house on quicksand.
Yeah.
So you're just starting to get up, and then it's just going back down. Then you go
or
up,
sinkhole.
and it's going
Sinkhole.
back down.
A sinkhole would be like it's amazing how like I think the closest they got was I think 2016 or 2015 or something like that. I think that was the closest they got to actually looking like they were going to do something, and then it just is slowly crapped out at that point.
I still say we could have won the MLS Cup in 2015, but that squad we had, if we'd approached the Portland game differently, we could have had an MLS Cup. And then this whole club would be so different right now because you'd be wanting to attract players to it. I don't know what player, like, especially within MLS, because for me, if it's going to be 8 to 10 weeks before a player from overseas comes in, you maybe want to get a guy that's already in North America. Yeah, they'd have to quarantine for the 2 weeks, but if you can get them in now, they're going to be ready pretty soonish. We've got trade bait. Let's look at Freddie Montero. He has not gone on this trip out east, and it was technical decision. That was what's been said. It was Mark said he just wanted to focus on the younger players, and he didn't feel that with what he was needing from the team, Freddie would give that. Now, like him or loathe him from what he did with Seattle before or whatever, he's a guy that knows this league. He's a guy that scores goals, and he showed it at the end of last season when he was coming on as a sub. I do feel he can offer a lot to this team. But if you're not bringing him out on a trip like this, when there's Canadian Championship points on the line, never mind MLS points, because Mark really wants to be in the Champions League and win a trophy with the Whitecaps in the Voyageurs Cup. So if you're going all out for that, you bring your best players, and Freddie is one of those guys. So if you're not bringing him for a technical decision, it's not for a trade, which I don't believe for a minute, because I think there is some trade stuff in the works. I mean, what does that say about his future?
He's got no future here, basically. He's no longer the guy with the 2-year contract. It's basically over at the end of this year. So I think he's done. He's basically done. I don't know where he would go. Maybe he's just going to retire. I don't see him going. I think somebody mentioned he might go to Colombia. I don't see him going abroad
I don't see
anywhere
that either.
And he's definitely not going to Portugal, even though the passports were, they got the passports and everything.
His stock is really high, I still think, in parts of MLS.
Yeah.
And you've got expansion teams coming in that would, like Austin next year, add a veteran like Freddie Montero to them now or something. But then he might want to only go to Seattle. I know you might not have a lot of say in MLS depending on what his contract says. But then I was looking at Seattle and I thought, I know this is like going back 3-4 years, and I've kind of done this one to death in my pre-Johnny Russell loving days. Will Bruin. You could swap Freddie for Will Bruin. It's kind of a like for like, but I think you get more out of Will Bruin than what we're getting from Freddie.
I would honestly just I would unload him just to get his salary off the books, and hopefully, and although I'm sure as soon as I say this, Zach's gonna start shaking his head, the Whitecaps will spend that salary spot somewhere else on somebody else and bring him in from abroad or anywhere at this point. So I don't need a player back. I would like to see him off the roster.
I still remember when Carl Robinson told me that the Colombian was coming. It was in the locker room in Portland at the preseason tournament. He took me aside and said, I got to tell you something. And I was extremely disappointed for, the reasons we've talked about in the past. And as much as I didn't like that, I think he made a contribution in his first spell in Vancouver that, even though I don't like it, he did do some things. I think his second spell in Vancouver has been a huge mistake, like a very, very, very significant and costly mistake, both on the field, off the field, financially. I don't think it was the right thing to do at all. And I think the sooner he goes, the better for him. I think the better for the Whitecaps. And the questions will all be around what do they do with that spot and how do they allocate those funds. And they're obviously, it's hard to trust them to do the right thing with those things right now, but they need to do something.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Whitecaps squad and you look at players that they're our elite, let's put it that way. They're maybe not elite to some of the other clubs, but to us, these are our elite guys. So you're looking at Freddie Montero, MLS veteran, not playing just now. Inbom Wong didn't do that well here. He's now left. Ali Adnan, great at times. Tonight, didn't really notice him too much on the pitch. He seemed very pissed off on Tuesday, was shouting a lot at various teammates. His best friend was Inbom Wong. There was lots of rumours in the off-season that he wanted to go back to Europe. It looked from photographs that Ali's agent was also over in Russia with Inbom as well. So does Inbom say, oh, there's a really good left back at the Whitecaps, he's an international. Is Ali the next one out? So you could be losing him as well. Then your rebuild is starting to look massive. And then you factor in Jordi Reyna, whose future at the club has to really be in doubt now. We have thought that in the past with other things, but we've known Mark DeSantis for a while, before MLS, going back to Montreal days. We've talked to people that know MDS. He does not suffer fools. And no. I can't see any scenario in which Reyna is here next year.
Yeah, I think he's spiked his chances for the coming back next year.
He might not even make it to the end of the season.
They're absolutely nil at this point, so I don't see it happening. You're right. It might not even continue on. They might just mutually buy him out or let him go or terminate the contract or something like that.
He's got so much trade value because of what he can do. Like, well, with what he can do, because we've seen it. The problem is he's not consistent enough. And is that on the player or is that on the team and those around him that's not helping him be consistent enough?
Or the combination of those two things.
Yeah, because a lot of it is always going to be on the player. So I put out, after all this news broke before the game, I put out a tweet saying, let's play some pre-game Football Manager. If the Caps were to package Reyna and Montero together, trying to get a trade deal, 1, do you think there would be interest? 2, who would it be from? And 3, what would we get back in return? So you guys think about that. I'll read you some of the answers that we had. Sure. Angus Walker said, yep, there would be interest, but it would be from Burton Albion for a bag of chips. Spice Boy 1, Reyna and the Colombian for Boxall and Musa. So I'm not sure Minnesota would want to give them out. And considering Boxall, I think, is a better player than what he was at the Whitecaps. If you said to me, oh, we're going to bring Boxall back in a trade to get rid of Montero and Reyna, I'd be like, sorry, what now? But maybe.
I would say that a couple teams that probably would be interested, maybe like a Cincinnati, because they like their former Whitecaps, or or like in Nashville, who probably looking for scoring and everything like that within MLS. So I think those are probably the more like teams. Like Inter Miami is another team, but I don't think they're looking within MLS. I think they're look abroad for people.
You also have to think as well, though, Zach, like Reina's, let's just call them issues. They're going to be well known amongst other managers. So you're going to, if you look around the league, say a guy like Adrian Heath, he's not going to put up with Reina's shit. So that rules them out altogether at Minnesota. You've got like Caleb Porter. It's like he might think, oh yeah, Reina's a good player. I'm not putting up with that shit. Or does it need a strong manager to make him not do these stupid things that he seems to do?
Yeah, it's interesting to see, who. I think some people kind of used to see Carl Robinson as a bit of the sort of Sam Allardyce. Sam Allardyce was famous for a while there in the Premier League of bringing all these players who've had difficult experiences into Bolton and getting the best out of them, or getting them really good out of them before they moved on somewhere else and kind of restarted their careers or whatever. I don't know really who does that in MLS now, but I don't know. With Reina, I was thinking maybe someone like, I don't think the Colombians would fit there, but would there be, and I know they have other attacking weapons and options, but could someone like Bruce Arena, again, he doesn't suffer fools lightly either.
Yeah.
But is he someone who could turn the switch for Jordy, if you will, to get him to become more of a consistent player because of his coaching style, his man management, his experience in the game, his experience in MLS, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Reina's got skill. I mean, you don't make it into the Peruvian national team if you're not a skillful player, because there's a lot of competition. It's just he maybe needs to be in the right environment. This is not the right environment. It just always feels that there's just something going on with him that's distracting him from being the player that he could be.
Yeah, he seems off all the time. Like he has moments. Like in Orlando, I thought he played pretty well, considering. But he always has these periods where he disappears. Who's the player that used to do that a lot too? Christian Teixeira. Christian Teixeira used to do that quite a bit, where he would show a lot, and then all of a sudden, for a period, he would be a non-factor completely.
Well, something that's similar about them both, which actually Noberto S talks about this in the comments, is both those players I think are really, even though they're both quick and good in the counter, they're both players that I think value possession game. So when you think around MLS, who has a good possession game? With someone like
anybody who plays the Whitecaps.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
But with someone like LAFC, who are good in possession, but also really quick in the and can be direct in their attack, with somewhere like that be a fit.
And Andy Rose can talk up Reina too, Bob Bradley too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who needs an agent?
Pops. Well, that ties in with Joe Deasy, who said on Football Manager, if you offer all your draft picks, LAFC will usually give you Vela. So let's offer draft picks, Reina and Montero, and maybe we can get Vela and Rossi. Done deal. But you've got other people as well saying that they'd be happy just to get shot of them just for like draft picks and just Gam and Tam. And I mean, Glass City made a good point, which was just get all the Gam just now from a club like Austin, who's coming in, they're like rolling in it. Get your Gam. Don't necessarily spend it this year. Maybe use a little bit of stuff to bring in some CPL players after the CPL tournament because they're already in Canada, so there's no quarantine. Does no harm because this season's a bust. I might be wrong. I'll eat my words if that is the case. Maybe Mark will turn things around and we're going to have an amazing run-in when we play out of Portland. If they can avoid all the riots and all the kind of smoke that's going about and kind of concentrate on the games. That is a whole topic for another day because that's a bizarre choice of place to go. I know why they're going, but with everything that's going on there, why do you think your players are going to want to go and play out of Portland? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
They should go to like a place like Montana where there's like open spaces and everything. They could create a stadium there probably in a couple of weeks.
in all seriousness, Bellingham, because you've got the stadium there, because I went down and watched Bellingham United play some games there. Fans aren't coming in anyway. There's an airport there for the charter flights to land at. To me, that just makes total sense.
TV would be the big factor there, whether they can perform a TV broadcast. That would be the only factor, I think. Then.
I think you probably could, though, because they've had big events there, and Bellingham streamed their games on YouTube.
Yeah.
We could get Nathan just holding his camera phone up, and then we could do commentary for it.
Hey, you call him by his proper name.
Mr. Whitecap, sorry, sir. Oh, actually, I'll just show you my hat. I'm not sure how clear this will be in the stream because I've got really shit internet quality.
It's so clear.
Yeah. Glenrothes FC, my hometown team, who were a non-league team. They've just joined last year the Scottish Football Pyramid. So one day they could be playing East Fife. It could be big rival games.
You could start another
town versus your home county.
Oh, my allegiance will be torn.
You could start a new podcast too for that.
I think two's enough. I can just combine the East Fife and the Glenrothes one. I can't do any more.
You could have a Glenrothes corner.
What's the Venn diagram of supporters between the two, Mike?
Well, surprisingly, about 3.
So everyone.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, in the space of 2 days, I brought out 6 hours of podcast, which was too much for anyone. And already this one's overrunning. So let's just call the Whitecaps chat. Let's bring it to an end just now. There was more I was going to talk about, like just regarding fans on MDS and stuff. We'll get the Montreal game out of the way, and we'll talk about maybe some stuff like that next week. We're going to move on to talking some Canadian action next, CPL. We'll be back chatting about that on the podcast after this. I don't know if Steve's watched any of the CPL games, but we'll find out now in the stream as we turn our attention. You have?
A little bit here and there, not the full games or anything like that.
All I'll say is I'm glad Fox Sports are showing games in the US. I'll just leave it there as to why I'm glad that they're doing stuff like that. I don't have a One Soccer subscription.
I was going to say I've seen enough on highlights that I could do a match report.
Yeah, for the first, I was doing the post-game press conferences on the Twitter things that they were uploading. So see, it's possible. I was analysing the game fantastically well. Anyway, let's move on to some Canadian Premier League chat now. And then we're going to look at Canada in the World Cup qualification, and then we'll call it a night, I think. So let me get my little notes here for this. So we're just over a week into the Island Games. What's your initial thoughts? And I gave some thoughts on it on last week's show. Zach, first of all, how much have you been watching? What have you thought of the action so far?
Honestly, I have not watched that much. I've seen, I think, at least 2 full games live. And then I've watched
number 2 is very important.
I've watched highlights of many of them, most of them. Again, I for the most part, I think like last year, I'm encouraged. Like there's been some good play. There's been some really exciting goals. There's been, I know there's lots of jokes about the penalties and VAR and, some decisions and whatnot, but all in all, I think it's been pretty exciting and engaging.
Yeah, the people have been putting a full effort out there. There's definitely no like training session going on like other people have. It was great to see Busto score a goal. Hopefully, kind of wish there was a winner, but it ended up being a draw there.
And Zach Verhoeven in the same game.
Yeah, that was another fantastic.
Yeah.
Goal. Did you pronounce it correctly?
Paz reaction on the bench as well was tremendous.
Yeah. I mentioned in our chat that they should just have an ISO cam on Pa the whole game, and that would sell tickets there.
How can you not love Pa?
Yeah. Quick update for you guys, really important from the chat. Perdip Sakan, cool as a cucumber. Varjinder Chan, cucumber.
Yeah. That's the cucumber reference. I guess the Canucks have won.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So
and John O'Flynn is excited about CPL finally.
The story behind that is the story behind it is that these two guys are always like, as soon as the Canucks a goal goes in, they're like, I'm out of here. This sucks or horrible. And I say, calm down, be like a cucumber, and that's why the cucumber thing is like picked up.
Right. Well, talking to John O'Flynn, I want to give a shout out to him because he came up with something fantastic. PEI. Actually, the P stands for penalty.
Yeah, I saw that.
Penalty.
Put that in the chat.
Penalty Edward Island. So I think we'll go with that from now on.
The one thing about this tournament, and I know obviously they have to do it because of COVID, but it would have been nice, like last year, instead of having a full season, to do the tournament like this instead. That way they kind of get everything going, and then this year they would have launched the actual season. But I think the tournament's working really well for them, because it's definitely cost, and it's amazing that the CPL is able to put this on. Yet a league that has had long history has basically canceled their season because they couldn't afford it, like the CFL. It's like, but the CPL, good on them to find a solution. They got some games on. They're going to get a season. They're going to get a champion this year. There's something MLS should have done, where instead of doing this tournament and actually starting it, they should have just ended it right there and handed the trophy to whoever won that.
But Steve, also there's a pretty significant difference in cost involved in making those two leagues.
No,
happen.
for sure,
and salaries as well, because there's so many folk in the CPL that's making less than 15,000.
Yeah, I understand that, but still, relatively to a new league doing able to pull this off, and a league that's been around for a long time, it's amazing.
Oh, I know. I think the tournament has been a fantastic success, and I always thought it would be. It's going to be a shame for the 4 teams that basically go out at the end of phase 1, because that's their season, 7 games, and they're going to be gone, and then that's it until next April. So, I mean, that's tough when you've put so much effort into getting ready for the season. I mean, if we look at the standings just now, Cavalry, class act again, top of the league, top of the table, 7 points from their 3 games, 2 wins and a defeat. Sorry, 2 wins and a draw, not a defeat. 2 wins and a draw for Cavalry. Forge FC, they're second on 5 with 1 win and 2 draws. So they're the 2 unbeaten teams from their 3 matches. You've got Valor, Pacific, York 9, Halifax, Atletico Ottawa, and FC Edmonton. Now, Valor are 3rd on 3 points. The Eddies are 8th on no points, but they've played Cavalry and Forge, so they've got basically all their... Like, they've got their 2 toughest games on paper out of the way.
Yeah.
And now they've got games against all the teams that's above them that they're going to be challenging for it. This is wide open. There's been so many draws just now as well. I mean, we talked about the penalties, like 8 penalties in the first 9 games so far. But the amount of draws as well has been... It's kept
2-2.
this... Yeah, the first 4 games were all 2-2, which was crazy. But with all these teams drawn, it's keeping the interest alive, because every single team right now is realistically in with a shot of making it into the second phase and getting into the top 4. And then once you're into that second round, it all opens up again, and it's a free-for-all. So this is the best possible thing that could have happened for the CPL, is that you've got it as close as this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there's been like exciting games with late equalizers, and it's been really, really, really encouraging. And the fact that everyone's still in it, I mean, I know we're still early, but everyone still feels alive and like they have a chance and are hopeful is huge. And I think for a lot of the fans, people who are engaged in season 1, this feels like quite the opposite of what happened last year. Unless you're Edmonton, and then, well, you're just crap, and that's it. It's pretty par for the course.
But see, you're saying that, but I totally disagree with that, because the Eddies in their first 2 games so far, they've struggled offensively, but defensively they've looked very solid. They've lost 2-0 to the top 2 teams in the CPL, but they've put a good showing in, and they've had some unfortunate things go against them as well. The second goal in the El Clasico on Thursday night was a blatant dive that was given as a penalty. Although the game, it was deep in stoppage time. That was the last kick of the game. They had lost that anyway to a wonder strike.
And they
were down. Yeah, they were down a man as well for a horrendous tackle. There was no complaint about that. But I think the Eddies are very much in with a chance. And actually, I spoke to Jeff Powless after the game with Cavalry on Thursday just to ask him about what he thought about all of that. So I'll play that audio just now. Again, on the podcast, this is something else that makes you have to listen to the podcast. So basically, Jeff Powless feels that they've got a great chance. He thinks 3 wins from the remaining 5 games will be enough to take them through to the top 4. And they've got every chance of doing that, I feel.
Yeah, I just was reading some stuff from Edmonton supporters who would just say, look, we can complain about that penalty, and all that kind of stuff, but like they just haven't been good enough. You know what I mean? Guys, like we were talking about how excited we were about Bokai and his contributions. He hasn't been good enough.
Yeah, he's been invisible in the games that I watched. He just really, you're expecting more from him, and it's tough for teams like Edmonton because they're from the same province as Cavalry, and everyone's wanting that rivalry to be really stoked. And I think last season, a lot of people were tipping Edmonton to do well in the fall season, and they started off well, but then they just went downhill, and they just need a couple of breaks to I think to get back into this tournament. I like what I've seen. I've liked some of the stuff that Pacific have done. They've played well. York 9 were quite heavily fancied, but for me, I don't think they've actually fully lived up to what they were maybe getting billed at. I know they took a point the other day from Forge, which is they didn't. They did.
They got a
Forge the other day.
They got a number of like high profile names, and I think that's probably why they're billed higher, like a David Edgar and everything. I think David Edgar's on York 9, if I'm not mistaken. So is he?
Oh, he's on Forge. He's with
Forge. He's on Forge. Sorry, I missed the. But they got like and also they're the center of the universe. They're in the Toronto area, so obviously they're going to be like built up high just for ratings reasons. But I agree with you. It's wide open right now. It's similar to last year. Last year it was all Cavalry and Forge at the top, and everybody else was trying to jockey for position in the 3 to whatever slots there were. I think only Valor was the only team out last year too at this point, most of the season. Everybody else was in it. Bold question to you guys. You can cut it out of the podcast if you want, but is Bokai the Yasin Essa of FC Edmonton? Where he showed so much promise as a young player, as a really like dynamic, attacking kind of player, and then just craps out by the time he gets in his 20s or earlier for Yasin.
Maybe because so much was expected of him, and then he went off to Europe and didn't do stuff there. And
Yasin Essa was like 16, 15. He was like, could he be the next guy? And then by the time him was a little earlier, 17, 18, he was done. But he was billed really high when he was at the same age as Bokai.
I really enjoyed watching Yasin Essa play when he was in the residency.
Oh, so did I.
Like you did, Steve. Do you know what happened? Was it like
I think so.
Big, or was it off-field stuff, family stuff?
It was probably a combination of everything, like a lot of stuff with him. I think maybe it wasn't in him either.
I think that's a bit of unfair comparison to Yasin. When I think of Bokai, I think more of Freddie Adu. That's I think a little bit more of in terms of going over Europe and just not being able to stick anywhere and make the breakthrough anywhere really in a meaningful way. Obviously at lower levels than Adu, but
I still remember though the Yasin S on one side, Ben Fisk on the other. It was like a deadly wide area. They killed opposition at that time.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Ben Fisk and his new team, Atletico Ottawa. Been a tough start for them. And I mean, you mentioned Valor being out of it last year. They thrashed Ottawa 4-0 the other day. Both games so far, Ottawa's had a guy sent off.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. No. In the first game against York, they were 2-0 up. They seemed to be coasting. They went down a man, and the tired legs, they were hanging on at the end. But I mean, they got a point. So I mean, that was good. Ben McKendry's joined them as well. So you've got the two Bens reunited. So haven't had a chance to ask what you guys think about that. Ben started the game against Valor the other night, but I just think it's great to see them both back together again.
I'm just surprised that with Madrid's season over, that they didn't fly some people in for this tournament that could have helped out. Like even Diego Simeone could have helped out, like as like a, technical advisor or something like that.
But can he do it in a windy Tuesday night in Charlottetown? That's
I
the
don't
question.
know. Is he up to it?
Here's the thing. I watched that whole first game against who was it against? The 2-2 against
York 9.
Yeah, York 9. I watched the whole game.
Good guess on that one.
It was so disappointing. Like they had that game, and I was like, like Ben's getting his first win. I think he got an assist. Like he set up a goal. Was so excited, and like I was messaging with after the game. Obviously, he was excited about the first game and stuff, but really disappointed not to take all 3 points because their performance in the first, whatever it was, 55, 60 minutes or whatever, was definitely worthy of a win. But after the sending off, they tired, they collapsed, which is understandable considering they've never ever played a game ever. And, the training they've been doing is limited and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But I was really sad for him. And I really wish McKendry had played with him in that game. I know they didn't get to play together in that first game, but I'm excited that Benny Mac is there. And I think hopefully he'll do well. Obviously the Valor game was not good for them. And like you said, another sending off.
And it's unfortunate they didn't get the win, because I'm sure it would have made headlines in Madrid too. It would have been huge there. Right.
Dancing in the streets of Madrid.
Don't forget, they're still not as bad as Edmonton.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
the dark horse for me, I talked about this in last week's show, could be Halifax. I don't think they can go on and win it. I still think the final is going to be Cavalry and Forge again, but I think Halifax have a good shot at making it through to the top 4. Took a point off Forge on Wednesday in a 1-1 draw, and Stephen Hart's completely rebuilt that team. We had a chat with him on last week's show, and Jake Ruby, it's nice seeing him back playing CPL. It's a guy we saw come through the residency, and I hope he does well there. And Stephen Hart speaks very highly of him.
Yeah, it'll make my top 5 look good better than it.
Yes.
Putting them in the top 5 at one point. I agree with Halifax, and they got that the trialist that was here with the Whitecaps too, and he's played really well too.
Yes, it's so cool. Yeah,
he's played really well too. So they have the makings of. I agree with you. Them Atletico, once they get if they can get into that next group after playing these 7 games, I think they could be dangerous. So there's a few teams out there that I think I know Pacific, they're not getting the results, but I think as soon as whoever sneaks in behind Cavalry and Forge, they have a potential to do something in that next round. They just need these 7 games to get going and doing something in there.
Well, the thing with Pacific, they've got 2 draws so far, and it's against Halifax and York. So they've still got the 2 toughest games, you think, to come against Forge and Cavalry. But they're going to build a good team there. I just don't know that we'll see the full results of it this year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but they got a lot of good building blocks right now, and I think they're going to be. I agree with you. They might not see it this year, but going forward, even last year, I thought they looked really well last year. So it's just a matter of keep getting to the next level, because they're building it differently than other teams like Cavalry.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on last week's show. They're starting 11. For the first game, it was 9 former Whitecaps that had come through the residency or WFC2. So, I mean, from our point of view, it was nice to see that. And just Pa is just so much fun. And yeah, I'd love to have a camera just watching him for 90 minutes. That would be fantastic. Last thing just to say about the CPL. Now, the broadcasting and the schedule. Things have been changing quite a lot. They've made a lot of the midweek games now to kick off at 5 p.m. our time, which is going to be better for fans out here. They're not having a clash now with Champions League on Sunday, so there's that as well. You can watch the games on chch.com on a Sunday and on CBC on the Saturday, all of which makes your One Soccer subscription not seem as good value as I didn't think it was very good value anyway, but it's good that these games are getting out there, that more folk are going to see it. But just to get your thoughts on it because I gave my thoughts last week. The way that it's done through One Soccer, and I know why it's done through One Soccer, but I don't want to beat this over the head because we talked about it a lot last year. I just don't think when it's a short tournament like this was the way to broadcast it.
No, they needed to do it more effectively. I'm not sure if they did this or not, so you guys have to let me know. They even could have done packages where they did your home team package, so you don't have to buy the whole thing. You just want to watch, your 7 Pacific games. You spend, what, $30 on that for the 7 Pacific games. They could have done packages like that. So going into next year, they need to look at that. So you don't have to spend $60 on a full season. Maybe spend $20 on a Pacific season. You'll get more. You'll actually might even make more than people wanting to spend $60.
It's $79.99.
Well, whatever it is, I didn't even look at the price because I knew it was going to be.
No, but it's like $80 for 4 weeks. It's like what?
Yeah. The WWE charges less.
John O'Flynn in the comments talking about he got it. He spent the $78. He says only because he dropped TSN and Sportsnet back in March, and he did not renew his 3 season tickets with the Whitecaps. So getting it was some value for him.
Oh yeah, then it is worth it.
But no, I agree, Michael. It's kind of the whole thing. I didn't like how they did it. I understand why they did it and stuff, but it just all the things combined, the taking it away from season ticket holders without them having to buy in a new way, the taking away the option to subscribe for a month, obviously because that's all people would probably do because they would be able to watch the tournament for just a month or whatever, seems just a bit off to me, or just not ideal.
It's not goodwill for it. It's a league that's starting so it's only their second year.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
MLS probably didn't do this in until 10-15 years down into their thing. So you can't do this too early. You have to build up the audience before you screw them over.
Yeah, I'm really happy that like you said, the weekend games have been available. It's interesting to see that. I don't know if you've seen, but because the games have been on the Fox Sports 2 or whatever in the States, there's now some American.
I appreciate you guys knowing what time the game's on and posting it in chat, so then I know that there's a game on, it better turn it on, because I keep forgetting all the time because I have no idea what day of the week it is most of the time.
Michael, have you seen the groups? Like there's a Central New York supporters group for Halifax.
No.
Oh yeah, if you go on Twitter, you can find. I forget the actual hash. I'll tell you what.
That's superb.
And half the time they're supporting Pacific because they don't realize they're the same.
No.
Well, because they got the same uniform.
Michael, you'll like this. It's at Wandering Yanks CNY, Independent Supporters Club for the Halifax Wanderers Soccer Club of the CPL. We are based in Central New York. Following 2 followers.
Are you sure it's a supporters group and it's not Cockney rhyming slang? All right, Governor, you want a wandering Yank?
Maybe it's somebody from England that
maybe
they got that term and then they use it.
Before we move on to the final part of our YouTube stream, which is going to look at the World Cup qualifiers, just to go through some more of the chats here. I don't think you read this one earlier. John Ward said, "I don't need a pandemic to stop me going to BC Place to watch the Whitecaps." That made me laugh. But he also said, if the CFL and in turn BC Lions fold, would the Whitecaps be able to get out of the BC Place contract and find a new location, i.e. UBC? Whitecaps need their own smaller compact stadium.
I agree with that, but I think if say the Lions or CFL fold, which I don't think they will, because I do think the only reason they didn't put it up because the owners didn't want to play this year. But I think if they fold, let's say the Whitecaps are the only tenants, BC Place is not going to let them out of it. They're going to actually hold on to them even harder and try to incentivize them to stay there. Yeah.
Also, UBC would not be the place for a stadium. It's like trying to find the ideal place. You want somewhere maybe that isn't downtown, but not too far away. New West. That sounds like a great place to build a stadium.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I was there. I I was at Queen's Park the other day. I just took a turn and I couldn't turn back on the road I went. So I drove past the stadium there, and I was with Kirk, and I was like, Kirk, this stadium could have been where we had some good memories. He's like, really?
Did you drive by going, White?
Yeah, no, I did not. But no, I mean, I don't think it'll happen there, especially with the local politicians who, you know, made it a wedge issue for them to get elected. I don't think they're able to go back on that now. But
well, it's okay. Folks still have their deposits down for the Waterfront Stadium, do they not? Brett Graham, I don't think he ever got his deposit back.
Brett Graham, Brett Graham was like the first dude who put money in for seats at the Waterfront Stadium. And then when he went back to the Whitecaps, said, yeah, where's my deposit? And it wasn't an insignificant amount of money, I don't believe. And they're like, yeah, we lost that list. And I don't think they ever gave him anything for that.
I'll have to ask him about that.
Whitecaps FC.
Interesting. Just some other messages in the chat. Norbertos said Tim Lewicki changed MLSE's mindset on how to make TFC successful. They brought in Bradley, Gio. TFC used to be the laughingstock of Canadian MLS teams. They were. We had so much fun at their expense. But now look at where they are, and now look who's laughing, basically. It's like compared to the Caps. It just shows you that it's easy to turn a team round in this league. And you only even have to look at what Oscar Pereira is doing down in Orlando just now. He's kind of turned that team around, and they were a laughingstock. And now I know they were kind of on home turf, so to speak, at their own tournament, but they played some nice football, and it'll be interesting to see now what they're doing in the return of the actual league. But again, he seems to have turned them around.
So, Michael, I commented there, and I'm sure I told you this, and I don't know if we talked about it on the show at the time, but someone in and around that time when like Wiki was turning around TFC, someone within the Whitecaps front office said to me, or it was maybe it was even after his time, after he was gone from there, but said to me, Tim Lewicki is the kind of visionary leader that the Vancouver Whitecaps need. Someone who has a vision for making the club quality and moving it forward and letting it be all that it can be. That's what we need here. That has not happened. I think Mark Panis was the closest.
Yeah, it sounds like they were going for somebody, but then decided not to keep him.
But it sounds like Axel is more like the status quo. The more and more I hear him talk and hear his interviews and hear him talk about his approach, it sounds more and more like it fits in with Bobby, Rachel, Greg Anderson, Greg Kerfoot, and Jeff Mallett with who they are, what they've done, and what they want, which is really, really, really unfortunate.
Well, it was interesting to hear Pete Shad, as I mentioned earlier on TSN this morning. He said for him that the jury's still out on Axel. And for like Pete to come out and say that is, you don't kind of always expect him to kind of be as critical as that. But it was a very critical little section he had in the Whitecaps. But he's not sure that Axel's doing what the Whitecaps are really needing.
Yeah, right now because even like you're talking about Inbom Wang, the transfer came all of a sudden, and they probably didn't have enough time to replace him. But honestly, these transfers don't happen. Rarely they happen all of a sudden. They have an inkling that this is going to happen over a couple of weeks. So they
he
could have
got to play in Europe. He made it very clear he wanted to play in Europe.
They should have had a target ready to go, or 2 or 3 targets ready to go whenever there was an offer from Wang. And so they should have been ready to pull the trigger if they need to, because anybody who watches this team knows that they have issues in the midfield with Inbom in the midfield. Imagine taking him out. And like I think you jokingly commented during the game on Tuesday was Inbom maybe more important than we realized because they went down 3-0.
Well, but that's part of the whole thing with Inbom. We didn't talk about this before, but the whole thing was it felt like it was set up to be like a 2-year or 2.5 year or whatever stint here, because he was brought in as a young designated player, and by some of the sounds of it, they never had any plan whatsoever to keep him here longer than that, when they'd have to pay down more of his salary. So it's surprising that they didn't, in one sense, maybe it's surprising they didn't get more for him.
I just realized I missed an opportunity to run a headline of Wang out.
Yeah.
That's not like me.
I was shocked that you could have used a lot of headlines for that.
I loved when Michael Cox played for Edmonton. The fun I had on Twitter with that when we played them in the Voyagers Cup. Anyway, back to some more messages here. Norberto's also said he can see Reyna going to play for a Liga MX team, which I could see that as well. He kind of fits that. He plays for Peru. That kind of helps his resume. Matt Johnson says he missed the Reyna chat earlier, but he says, what is his position? He's not a 9. He's not a false 9. He's not a 10. He's not a winger. He's got talent, but what is he?
I think he's
a good question.
He's a secondary striker for me. Like, he's a guy that can play. He needs to play in a 2-man front, and with either a target guy or either any kind of other striker, but he needs to play in the 2-man front.
And I just said this in the comments as well. I agree with you. His best position is as a second striker, where he has the freedom to play in behind, off of a main striker or around a main striker. I think he's probably better with someone who's both bigger, stronger, physical, but also good technically. And so, in terms of, Matt asked where that could fit in New England with Bruce Arena, I think they have some players that he could partner really well with, but that might mess up what they're doing right now.
Actually, I know there's probably not a position in soccer. I think he's a roamer. Basically, he needs to be able to. He needs to have basically no defensive responsibilities and be able to go wherever he needs to go in order to pick up the ball and run with it.
But that's the thing, in the modern game, you can't have players like that. Like,
yeah,
in MLS, you can't have passengers.
No,
because
especially defensively.
Yeah, because even when you have one, that means that everyone else is having to make up for that. I've referenced this conversation years ago with Tater, talking about Davide Cumento. And Davide, in the ideal world, would be a guy you give some freedom to in terms of defensive responsibility so that he can be even more creative going forward. But the problem is when you do that in MLS, you put so much burden on your other players, especially if you're also having a center forward who's in a similar boat. So then you have 2 players, right? So that was always one of the problems for Davide in his time in Vancouver.
Yeah, Cumiento was best when the other team was 1 man down. That's essentially the best time to bring him on.
Or he got to play, out wide with Adrian Kahn at fullback.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just watching something that someone sent me, and it also ties in with the last thing, which we'll read out here, which was a tweet from CD Pryor, who it was in reply to like what we could get back for Montero or Reyna or whatever. So he said, how about Reyna and Montero plus Gam to Sporting Kansas City for Johnny Russell? Doesn't that sound like a fair deal, lads?
No, Kansas City will never go for that.
But what I was laughing at is someone just sent me a video from him post-game tonight where he's sitting in front of the camera and he's waiting to talk and he's swigging a beer. I want him here more now. He's the new Willie Johnston. Anyway, that's it for our sort of chats and everyone. Thank you for everyone that has sent messages. And hi to Drew Shaw, who's watching from Prince George. He's looking forward to seeing Ben Fisk back in Victoria next year where he belongs. I was sad to see him go, but yeah. So we've got one last little bit to chat about in tonight, and that's going to be looking ahead to Canada and their World Cup qualifying route. For those of you in the podcast, we'll be back with that after this. And for those of you still watching the stream, I don't know how many that is, because we've gone, I thought this would be an hour and a half.
But is it ever an hour and a half?
So let's get to this last little bit. So the last little bit that we're going to talk about in the YouTube stream, Canada's path to the Qatar 2022. It's going to change. Let's be brutally honest, because all this is bullshit. It's not going to go ahead. But let's just kind of play along with what is meant to be happening. Canada drawn in group with Suriname, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, Aruba, which in normal times would be an absolutely fantastic little road trip. I'd love that. That would be absolutely amazing. Canada, 73rd in the world. And they're going to be playing Suriname, who's 141. Bermuda, 168th. The Caymans are 193 and Aruba's 200. this is a piece of piss. And if anyone's otherwise, then Canada shouldn't even be in the discussion of going to a World Cup. This is a formality, surely.
Yeah, two players that will probably really be interested in playing Cayman Islands, actually traveling there, is probably Jonathan David and Alfonso Davies after the contracts they've signed
definitely.
recently. So they probably really want to go to Cayman Islands.
Dream.
They want to go to Cayman Islands for sure. But other than that, yeah, it's the easiest group. It's not going to help them in the FIFA rankings for sure, these games, whether they're qualifiers or not.
I'm confident that we could put Zach up front for this one and still get past them. Well, maybe in goal. That'd be better.
That would not be good.
But I mean, it should be pretty straightforward. Get through that, and then the winners play the winners of Group E, which should be Haiti. Nicaragua, maybe, but again, Haiti's 86th in the world. Nicaragua is something like 142. They're below Suriname. So it should be Haiti. And as we know, what can go wrong with playing Haiti?
I don't know what.
I don't think they've any voodoo dolls left from the last time. So, I mean, it should all be good. But the first round of games, they're going to be getting played in the October and November international window. There's no way international travel for football is surely going to be taking part when you've still potentially got 14 days quarantine to get back into Canada. You're not going to have the likes of the European players flying over for these tin pot games either. I can see a lot of the countries pulling out altogether. I can't see it going ahead unless they have a bubble environment that all the teams go to and you're playing it in there. There's surely no way that we're going to have international games getting played in October and November.
It's similar, like if they go to like Orlando and all, like they go, one group goes in at a time. Whatever the groups are, 4 or 5 teams, they all go to the one location, play all their games, and then they're out, and then another group comes in, play all their games. That's the only way I can see it happening. And the thing is, what messes it up also is the uncertainty of the European leagues, because we don't know, you don't know when everything's going to start up again. Are they going to, is there going to be another wave in September and October where they have to shut everything down again? So at this point, I think the World Cup is in danger of being actually happening, even though it's like so far down the road.
I know, because if you can't get a qualifying in place for it, I mean, it's all who knows what.
Maybe it's like South Korea, Canada all over again in the 2000 Gold Cup where they just flip a coin and see who gets it.
Wasn't that drawing straws or was it flipping coins?
I thought it was a flip a coin.
Okay.
If they can't go ahead and they just make the top 8 go into the octopus, as I'm calling it, then Canada would be there. They'd be one of the tentacles that would have made it through. But I mean, even that is surely got to be in doubt as well. And I know you're looking way into next year. The way the things are just now, it's hard to see international travel.
I think
you can see domestic travel, maybe even Canada and America will get better. But international travel,
I think right now they just put the schedule out, hoping for the best, because they got to have a schedule out for people to be ready to do something. But everything's like a wrestling card is subject to change. So there's nothing set in stone right now at all.
No, but it's like Europa League and Champions League. They had to have that in the one place, and I think that's the only way that this can work. And you pick. Normally it would be America, but I mean, it doesn't seem a great place to go unless you do it again at Disney World of Sports, which once everyone was in the bubble, everything worked out great. We've seen it in PI as well. If you're in a bubble environment, and the hockey as well, once you're in that bubble environment, things seem to go well. It's when you're not in the bubble environment, as the USL teams have shown, as the baseball teams have shown, even the Yankees now is getting games called off.
I think it was the Mets that had the team they were playing had the infections, not the Yankees. Yeah.
They're both the same.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, just to wrap up the show, to wrap up the chat, this might not make it into the podcast depending when it comes out. Mentioned Champions League there. There's a big game on Sunday that I'm pretty sure one of us really wants to talk about, if I'm not mistaken. And that game is Pacific FC against Edmonton. No, it's not. That's actually a few Sundays after that. I got my schedule wrong. Who's playing on Sunday? Cavalry Halifax. There we go. That's the big game. It's Cavalry against Halifax. But of course it's not. The big game that Zach has been waiting 2 hours to talk about is his mighty PSG taking on Bayern Munich.
And here's your preview in 30 seconds, Zach. Go.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're coming up for 10:05. My father-in-law's downstairs. I've got to go and say hi. He needs to get to bed. He's sleeping in the next room. So 30 seconds, preview the game.
No, I'm not gonna.
Thanks, Zach. So let everyone know with.
So no, I mean it's been a nice run for Bayern Munich. This little tournament in Lisbon has been crazy. The game against Barcelona was just stunning, right? Like I couldn't watch it live because of what we were doing on our time away as a family, and so I like literally shut off my phone, like ignored everything. We got home.
Oh, that's why I didn't get any what's the time tweets.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I got home we got home in the evening. I grabbed my iPad. I had my wife go onto the zone just so I couldn't see anything. I said, find the Bayern game and make sure you don't go to the highlights, get the full game.
No facial reactions.
Yeah. And just start it up for me and let me watch. And it was just like, yeah, it was fun. It was so fun to watch.
The last time I did that,
Barcelona teams are like older and not what they used to be, and they've changed and whatever. But when you get to smash them 8-2, it just feels so good.
The last time I did that, where I shut off a game because I think I was going into the States for shopping, and I shut the game off, shut up all notifications. I came back, and then it was actually spoiled for me. Luckily, it was an 8-1 game, and I think you guys know which one I'm talking about. 8-1.
You're talking about 7-1, aren't you? Oh, you're talking about 8-1 Canada.
8-1 Canada or Honduras. Yeah. Well, so I'm glad it was kind of spoiled, but that was the last time I turned it off. So for you, it was good 8-2, but for me, it was not.
No, that was a terrible day. But the last game actually that last massive game that I missed live was I was hanging out with the two of you. We went down to Whatcom in 2014. We went down to Whatcom to watch a Whitecaps residency playoff game that they wouldn't let be played in Canada.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago PSG
PSG universe.
Oh, you didn't come?
No, it was you, me. It was you, me, and Mass.
You mean okay? It was Steve Mass and I then, yeah. And that was the day. I remember after we lost, unfortunately, even though we didn't play that terrible. We lost.
We dominated the game. They just hoofed the ball over the thing a couple of times and they scored goals.
Yeah, they played bad football. That's what it was. We played good football, but they still won. So, anyways, we get in the car, and I think Steve, you like said something or whatever. You like rolled down your window, like, "Hey," and it was like, "Do you know the score?" I'm like, "No, you can just tell me." And it was like, yeah, 5-1 or 6-1 already for Germany in the big 7-1 semifinal smashing of Brazil. So I went home and watched that entire game, the game after the fact as well. But it was great. And then on top, obviously, as a Bayern supporter who's from Canada, who has followed the Whitecaps, who got to see Alphonso Davies from a young age in the residency in the second team into the first team,
practically discovered
play for Canada. That his setup for the Joshua Kimmich goal was
stunning. It was just amazing.
It was unbelievable. Like I remember being in the little place we were staying and just like starting to lose my mind. Like Kirk and I were like celebrating. We went to where my wife was. And like, Cheryl, you have to watch. You have to watch this.
My wife had tears in her eyes.
Yeah, it was
that goal.
Oh, when the game was over.
I'm just saying that because I don't admit it. I had tears in my eyes.
I thought the game was over. I was starting to get a little teary eyed. Like it was just like.
Yeah, me too.
I can't believe this. Like yeah. So happy for Bayern because Bayern is my first love in club football, and they're a wonderful football club, and they do a lot of things well and they do a lot of things right, and so I'm really happy for them. I'm really happy for someone like Robert Lewandowski, who is being robbed this year of the Ballon d'Or. So it was great for him to smash Messi in that way, or Messi's team in that way. And then just so happy for Alphonso Davies. So going into this game. This is even though Bayern, I think, are the clear favorites in terms of how they play as a team and all that kind of stuff. PSG has guys who aren't all fully fit, but they have a lot of guys who can decide the game on their own. And so Bayern is not the greatest defensive team. They have a great goalkeeper. They can play defensively well as individuals and also collectively, but they are going to have to approach this game with the utmost of commitment to every moment. They cannot take any moments off in this game. They're going to have to be turned on. So guys like Jerome Boateng, who occasionally is prone to make a big error, can't make any big errors in this game. Alfonso is going to need to do positionally better than he has and be fast. I mean, I'm hoping Benjamin Pavard can play because I would rather Benjamin Pavard. He's been injured. Hopefully he can play it right back. So Kimmich can play in midfield. I think that would really help them as well. But
it's essentially, it's not going to be as easy as 1940 for the Germans to take over. France is going to put up a bigger fight than. I can't. One thing I will say is, you know how we're talking about tears in our eyes. One person who will have tears in their eyes if Bayern Munich doesn't win is Axel Schuster. Because he's gonna lose out on some money if they don't win that game.
Yes, because
1 million.
Talk about that. The rumors in the German, it's not been confirmed by the Whitecaps, of course, but the rumors in the German press is the Whitecaps get €1 million. Look what we could do with €1 million
if he starts and they win. Yeah.
So it's only if he starts.
Yeah, he has to start and they have to win.
So they bring him on the first minute.
No, they're not, Michael. They're not the Whitecaps. You got to stop thinking that way. They want to win. Do what's best.
They have pulled shady stuff like that before, though.
Bayern.
The signing of Mario Götze just before facing Dortmund. Didn't that happen?
Mario Götze?
Yeah, Götze, whatever his name.
Is this going to be another half-hour chat?
But then they signed him for Dortmund or something just before their matchup against Dortmund in the Champions League.
Yeah,
wasn't that him?
Yeah, they did, but nothing was shady about that. That was like all within the rules of the transfer.
It's still shady, man. Signing the best team player from the other team.
No, they had Lewandowski. We took him later, but no, they just this will be huge, and it'll be huge that will be the one solace if Bayern doesn't win is that Vancouver won't get money from it.
I mean, you must be happy though. 2 Deutschlanders in the final, Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain's.
Well, they are. You guys probably know this. They are coached by Thomas Tuchel, who's a German who used to coach Dortmund.
TT.
Yeah, he is good buddies with Jurgen. Well, he came up kind of sort of under Jurgen Klopp, was connected to Jurgen Klopp back at Mainz, I believe. So I wonder, Axel would know him, I would assume as well. But
I'm sure the 6 folk watching this stream are like fascinated by this chat, and I think two of them are you and me because I think we've got this thing on to read the things. So there we go. But let's wrap it up on the stream. We'll kind of cobble this together to make a coherent point outfit that will probably come out on Sunday night or Monday morning. Just before we go, though, let everyone know where they can find you online, starting with Stephen Pander.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
For me, it's at Zachary AM.
And I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Also for some Scottish chat on AFTN website. You can find us on YouTube, but you'll know that if you're watching YouTube stream on AFTN Canada. Please subscribe and turn on notifications. Give the thumbs up to this video. Leave comments. It helps with the algorithms. And I hadn't really cared about subscribers before, but if we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can make some money. And I think we get a little plaque or something. Or that might just be 100,000. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little higher to get the plaque. I think you get a piece of
let's
paper.
Let's get us 100,000 then.
It doesn't have to be real subscribers either. Just get 100,000.
Hey, see, if you'd got your dicks out earlier, like I suggested, we'd be at 100,000 by now.
If we just need bots, you should talk to the FO. I'm sure they could help us with that.
That's what I meant by that.
Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. Just thank you everyone. heart thing, Kai Kamara. He was watching the game tonight. He tweeted out he was watching the Whitecaps game. Anyway, thanks to everyone. Thanks to you guys for giving up your Friday night and missing the hockey to do this. I'm sure it was a tough one for you. I'm going to go downstairs now and speak to my father-in-law once I do the match report and stuff. And yeah, until next time, thanks for listening. Take care and mon the Caps. Bye, everyone.